up, everyone? Welcome into episode 140. 140 episodes of this, the only American and Brazilian podcast of two countries, two Americas, all sports. And a fitting day to do a podcast about international sports, considering that the 2024 Summer Olympics are underway in Paris, France. But I'm here as always in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. I'm Nick Kill, by the way. Don't know if I introduced myself. And joining me from Rio Branco headquarters at Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil is Gustavo Tomazeli. Gus, how are you doing on this Friday evening?
I'm doing good. Good. A lot of chaotic things happening here at Decio Vita Stadium. I mean, it's pregame, tomorrow Rio Branco plays Capivariano. After almost a month, we're playing at home, finally, after, two road games and a bye week. Can you imagine that in college football, you play two road games and a bye week? I mean, I think the Tennessee Volunteers in 2020, I remember in November, they did not play a game in Milan Stadium in the month of November 2020. That was kind of what happened to Rio Branco.
I mean, it can happen. I think it's happened more than that. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. There was a time period, I remember a few years ago, 2019, I think we played UAB on November 2nd, and then we went to Kentucky, had a bye week, then went to Missouri, and then finally did not come back home until we played Vandy. So we've had stretches like that before.
Yeah. But I think 2020 was the longest because remember Tennessee was going to play Texas A&M mid-November, but the game got postponed to mid-December because of COVID. So I remember there was a big stretch, and that month was a little bit chaotic as well. That time was chaotic for the Tennessee Volunteers, but I'm here I always wanted to do the show in my office. Shout out Leticia. Big Rio Branco fan. See, I got the Rio Branco flag behind me. And speaking of the Olympic kind of feeling, I have my gold medal from the. I don't know if I ever showed in the podcast my medal of the Rio Branco title. So it's in my office. So I always keep it with me.
I was say because I had a medal from a competition in middle school, but I don't know where that was. But we're definitely going to get into Olympics talk here in a little bit. But first, let's talk about some of that Brazilian soccer because it's been a while. Because last episode we devoted it to WTK, and so it's always shout out save WTK, hashtag bring back Benny. But we got to catch up a little bit on some sports. It's been a minute. So what's going on in the world of Brazil?
I'm gonna start with Rio Branco. As we kind of were talking a little bit earlier, Rio Branco lost on the road 3-2 against Primavera. I guess you saw a little bit of the game. Rio Branco was down 3-0 by the 75th minute. The early to the mid second half was a disaster, but then Rio Branco had a really good end of the second half, almost tied the game. So was down 3-0 and then 3-2. And if there were like 7 to 10 minutes remaining, Rio Branco would have definitely tied the game. So it was definitely not, you never want to, you always wanted to win. You definitely don't want to lose. But, for a loss that was going to be 3-0, for 3-2, for the way the team had grit, for the team had spirit. It was we left the stadium. Rio Branco players had left the stadium. It was a feeling of, we could have tied the game. It was not the feeling of, oh my God, we lost, we played terribly. It was like we played bad, but we ended up good. So we are very, definitely big game tomorrow against Capivariano. I even want to show the table to show why this game is important because it's kind of like, if Rio Branco wins this game, kind of sets up for qualifying for the playoffs. Because, I'm going to show you right now. So you see, Rio Branco is in second with 7 points. So if Rio Branco wins, goes to 10 points, and goes with 5-point differential against the Capivariano, which is the last team to qualify. So then with 2 games remaining, 5 points, 5-point lead, Then Rio Branco sits with a really comfortable position, and there will be a road game against Red Bull Bragantino second team, and then a home game against São Bento. So Rio Branco winning tomorrow definitely will make qualifying very smooth, kind of like a very good direction.
Absolutely, and it's great to see that Rio Branco has done a really good job so far in being able to advance into that next round. I mean, because I remember coming out of lower level than a lot of these other teams, so to be able to come out and play well, and I know there's a lot of turnover in between the championship and A4 and this particular competition, but hey, you're playing with house money.
No, yeah, and the fans know this team is very young, but is very well coached. Leandro Melic is a hell of a coach. He's really, for me, he's one of the most promising coaches of the Brazilian soccer. I bet in 5 to 7 years he's going to be coaching in Serie A in the Brazilian Championship. He's a very good coach. He's one of those coaches that goes to like FCS, Sun Belt, and does a really good job. He's kind of that level. I think he's going to be an aspiring head coach, and in 5 to 8 years, he's going to be in the top league. He is really good coach. It's not because he's in Rio Branco right now. It's because I see him, practice every day, the way he understands the game, the way he practices, the way he talks to the players, the way he works with fundamentals. He's a really aspiring coach.
And you have to appreciate a coach like that when you have them at a level like that. Because like Chattanooga this year, for example, they're projected to win the SoCon, and Rusty White's done a really good job. And I don't know how much longer the Mocs are going to be able to hold on to him. So for Rio Branco, you got to cherish every single moment of that, and you got to do as much damage as you can while you have them. So I'm really interested to see what they're able to do for the remainder of this tournament.
Oh yeah. Hopefully the fans show up and will definitely bring the W, and definitely keeps on the trajectory of going to the playoffs. Real quick, switching to Brazilian Championship that finished the first turn. The 19th week. We're heading to week 20th, and Botafogo is still on the top. Kind of like last year, Botafogo is on the top. They beat Palmeiras a couple of weeks ago, 1-0, and kind of showing they are for real. But I don't know. They still have to prove they have to keep the lead. That's what Botafogo fans are. They're like, they are hopeful, they're excited, but they're like, I'm going to wait until the very end.
And they have a much less of a cushion. They only have a 3-point cushion right now with Flamingo, 4 points to Palmeiras. Remember, last year this time they had like a 15-point cushion. So
that's true. That's a good point.
So I don't see it. If they couldn't do it last year when they had everything going for them, I don't see how they're going to do it in this second turn. And just looking at the rest of this top 10 too, Bahia still up there at 7th. Still a respectable season so far for them. Fortaleza too. They're up pretty high.
No, yeah. I mean, Bahia, they're from the City Group, so they are expected to do good. They lost 3 out of their last 5 games. Right. So things, are not as good as they should, because they invested a lot of money. Bahia really went deep on the transfer market because of the partnership they have with Manchester City Group. So that's why they should expect.
Right. But I was going to say there is one team that's definitely not there, though, and that's your Corinthians. But they're not in relegation anymore. So
yeah, they got a new coach, Ramon Diaz, Argentinian head coach, and they won 2 out of their last 3 games. They are a 3-game non-losing streak. They won 2 and tied yesterday at home versus Grêmio. That's true. I was not expecting to see Corinthians out of the relegation zone by week 19. But I'm still a little bit Rio Branco Corinthians fans. They know their fight this season is to not be relegated. They are their fight with Grêmio, That's why the tie was really interesting because yesterday Corinthians was losing up until the 85 minute to Grêmio, which is a direct competition into the relegation zone. So so it was a good tie considering Grêmio was one only they stay in the relegation zone, and Corinthians now is a 4 point lead with the teams in the relegation zone. Even though Criciúma, Cuiabá, and Grêmio have two games less than Corinthians. So it's going to be an interesting battle for relegation this season. Definitely, it's going to be one of the biggest relegation battles I think in Brazilian Championship because Internacional is in the relegation battle. Vasco, even though Grêmio in the relegation battle, Fluminense, even though they're not in the last position, they're still really into this relegation battle because they won the last two games, but they're still really behind in the table. But it's going to be interesting relegation battle and also the title battle as well. So and now we're going to the second turn, and this weekend the biggest game is going to be first place Botafogo versus Cruzeiro, fifth place. So another big battle for Botafogo tomorrow night. And another game I'll say is Atlético Mineiro and Corinthians, because if Corinthians win, they kind of distance themselves to the relegation zone, but they're playing Atlético Mineiro that kind of after having a bad losing streak, they're kind of getting back on their feet. So that's kind of that's what happened in the Brazilian championship. So let's go to Olympics.
Absolutely. Let's get into the Olympics because, as we alluded to at the beginning, they have been officially, the cauldron has been lit in the City of Light in Paris, France. And by the way, what an interesting opening ceremony. I don't know if you saw any of the clips, Gus. They didn't hold it formally in a stadium. The parade was along the Seine River. So basically, all the athletes were on boats. It was super interesting. I've never seen an opening ceremony like that. And they ran like the torch through the Louvre. They ran it underneath the Eiffel Tower to the cauldron in the middle of Paris. And really interesting. And of course, they also had a bunch of French artists. Some of it I couldn't understand, some of it I couldn't. But hey, it's France, right? Like there's gonna be stuff in their language. And of course, the thing about opening ceremonies is this how they bring in the country. Like I always remember, like when it comes to Rio, for example, 2016, when they brought in
That was
Giselle
amazing.
Buchanan. Giselle with the girl from Ipanema is walking. I always think of that. And also too, I think the funniest thing I remember is how I didn't realize that like Brazilians, like there's a dispute between Brazilians and Americans over who invented flight.
Oh yeah, the Wright brothers versus Santos Dumont.
Yeah, I had never heard of that before. So that was news to me because in America, obviously, we're taught that the Wright brothers invented flight, but obviously, I don't know that. I don't know for sure about that. But in any case, though, I think you'll get into sports though. This is a really interesting time for the Olympics, right? Because Russia can't compete this year, Belarus can't compete this year. Obviously, there's a lot of tension around Israel and the Palestinians who are competing. I actually heard that as Israel's vote went by, a lot of people were booing them. So, go figure on that.
One thing I want to talk about, I know it goes a little bit out of competition sports. I imagine the security around the Israeli delegation is going to be really tight because they don't want to repeat a 1972 Olympic debacle.
Oh yes, yeah. They said they have like the strictest security of any team at the Olympics for that exact reason. Because obviously France is next door to Germany, and there's a lot of people right now who are angry at Israel for the situation in Gaza. So, today at the opening ceremonies, they actually had like 100-mile radius where planes could not fly. So the airports were shut down for like 6 hours today in Paris during the opening ceremonies. So it's definitely interesting. this is a part. People say you should keep politics out of sports, but when it comes to the Olympics, it's basically impossible. The Olympics
Oh
have
yeah.
always been super political, and even I think the thing that's interesting to me, it's not even the global stuff, right? Because we all know Russia versus Ukraine, Israel versus Palestine, but internally here in the U.S. Because it's no secret the U.S. has had a pretty chaotic couple of weeks, preceded by a pretty tumultuous decade of political turmoil internally. Um, you know, I mean, not to mention, President Trump almost getting killed, and then President Biden last week deciding to step down, of course, and now Vice President Harris is going to be the nominee for the Democrats. And when they landed in Paris, both Steph Curry and his coach Steve Kerr came out and said they endorsed the Vice President Harris, which then prompted a lot of calls online from conservatives saying, "I'm not rooting for the U.S. men's basketball team," and it's just like it's really interesting because I feel like in the past, no matter what political orientation the athletes were, people rooted for the U.S. Americans rooted for the U.S. team because they were the U.S. But it feels like now it has to be conditional. Like, you have to believe exactly what I believe, or I'm not rooting for you, even if we're both American. It's a really weird time, and it's going to be interesting to see how the discussion plays out the next 2 weeks because, it's not a guarantee that the U.S. men's basketball team wins gold at this Olympics. There are several teams that I think could challenge them. I mean,
Oh yeah, France. I'll say is going to be a big challenge. Yeah, they're playing at home, and also with all the excitement around Victor Wembanyama, I'll consider
yeah.
France, a contender. Brazil maybe can. Well, go ahead.
I'd have to say Serbia. They play Nikola Jokic on Sunday, so that's going to be tough. Germany has several NBA players in their team. Canada has several NBA players in their team. Like they're going to have a challenge. Like I said, Brazil, they have a decent team. And South Sudan last week took the U.S. men's basketball team to the brink. I mean, the U.S. were 43-point favorites in that game and only won by a point.
Yeah. So I mean, Brazil is going to be the team that nobody's expecting anything. They qualified in the pre-Olympics, playing really well, but they have some questions regarding two players, Raulzinho and I believe especially Raulzinho. So I guess Brazil definitely is going to be a team that we to watch for, but definitely the favorites are France, Serbia, and United States.
Right, and it's going to be real interesting because there's a plurality of Americans who are going to be rooting against the U.S. men's basketball team. I mean, there is a good amount of Americans who, because they feel like the team doesn't support their candidate of choice or their worldview of choice, are going to root against them. And that just rubs me the wrong way. Like, we should be able to coexist and root for each other and bring each other up as Americans without requiring each other to subscribe to our worldviews. I mean, I get the people, like, I watch NASCAR, and I feel like most of those drivers probably have a different worldview than I do. That's totally fine. I like watching them race.
I guess in Brazil, since in the Olympics, we treat every athlete that is there as somebody who faced a lot of adversities, who had to battle to get there. We kind of ended up cheer for sports we don't even watch because we take every opportunity to get a gold medal like really bad. So that's why in Brazil, of course, there's people who want to support athletes because of politics. Neymar has a lot of fans in the last couple of years because he went more like a right wing, or the volleyball team when especially some volleyball players went to more left wings. But in Brazil, since we are not as much favorite in sports like in America, we tend to support our athletes to get as many medals as they could because we are not as a supremacy in sports, especially in the Olympics, like United States.
Right, and I think that's part of it too, because like the U.S. just expects to be near the top or at the top, pretty much every single time, and I think that's maybe not necessarily created complacency, but like it's a laissez-faire. Like I haven't heard that many people talk about the Olympics in real life. Like just out and about. Like I just don't hear that many people. Like I saw like some people wear like Olympic shirts today or like American shirts today. So like there is some acknowledgement of the fact that there is the Olympics going on. Apparently, we had Olympic live ceremonies screenings sell out today in Chattanooga, so people are interested.
Is there any Chattanooga athlete that is competing in the Olympics that you
There's
know
one girl. She's from Cleveland, about 30 minutes outside of town. She's doing, I think, powerlifting, if I remember correctly. So we do have an
of?
athlete from here.
Oh, in the Americana area, we have three. One of them I actually interviewed last year, Murilo Sartori. He's gonna compete in swimming. He actually is an athlete for the University of Louisville Cardinals. So me and Jason are gonna root for the same athlete in the Olympics. He Brazilian and American from Americana, and also because he also competes for the University of Louisville Cardinals. So
Okay, so there's actually five. All right, so that you have Olivia Reeves. She's from Hickson, actually. She's a senior right now, UTC. She's doing power weightlifting.
oh,
Additionally, you have Ryan Howard, who is in free-on-free women's basketball. She currently plays for the Atlanta Dream in the WNBA. She played for Kentucky in college. She's from Cleveland. You have Sierra Burdick, free-on-free women's basketball. Of course, she went to the University of Tennessee, but is from Charlotte. You have Sunny Cho, who is doing break dancing. I did not know that was a sport now, but she is from Cookeville, which is where Tennessee Tech University is. That's not too far.
Oh, Middle Tennessee. I've been there.
Then from Nashville, you have Alex and Gretchen Walsh, who are doing swimming. So those are the ones with that ties in Chattanooga or close to Chattanooga.
Yeah, in Americana area, we have Murilo Sartori for swimming, Felipe Bardi in running, and Alexandre Galgani in the Paralympics shooting.
Yep. And also UTC has a player has a golfer that'll be in the tournament. Stefan Jaeger. And he's going to represent Germany.
Nice. So yeah, because we tend to root not only for the athletes of our country, but we want to see the athletes of Americana and Chattanooga area do well because it's kind of proud of the area that we are from.
Yeah, and like Euros Plavic too. You technically went to high school here in Chattanooga, and he's playing for Serbia. Alongside Jokic. So I don't know how much time he's going to get to play, but hey.
Oh, is he the one that also went to UT?
Yeah, he's the UT, yeah.
Oh, I remember that he couldn't play in the beginning because of some NCAA shenanigan.
Oh, absolutely. So we definitely have a lot of local ties, and those are the stories that we should be celebrating, and not sitting here saying, oh, just because the U.S. is led by LeBron James, and I hate LeBron James's politics, I'm not going to root for the Americans. Like, come on. Like, that makes you more an American than he is for calling out issues. Like, if you're going to say, oh, I don't support American athletes because I don't like the way they talk about political issues.
And there's probably a lot of American athletes in the Olympics who are not as rich as LeBron James, Stephen Curry. They had to probably do some GoMe funding or had to get funding from family from somewhere to get there. Not all Olympic athletes are rich. In Brazil we know they struggle really well. There's a lot of news like, oh, we had to GoFundMe page or sell food or find some way to fund your way to Paris.
Yeah, and for example, I saw the rapper Flavor Flav. Actually, he personally funded, I believe it was the women's water polo team, for all their equipment to get them there for time in the pool. So he personally bankrolled that one specific
Yeah,
team. And
that
stuff like
stories
that's
we
amazing.
should that stories we should be celebrating. He is showing that he loves his country.
Absolutely, because he's like, because he has a daughter. He's like, I've seen that all these stories about supporting women's soccer or women's sports, and basically he's like, I'm going to choose one random women's team and I'm going to bankroll them. And women's water polo was the team he wanted to bankroll. And of course, he was the founding member of Public Enemy. So that's stuff like that's awesome. And stuff like that is what America, it's what Brazil is about. That's what our countries are about. And that's the beauty of these games, to see all these stories, to see how these people who are going to go back and live normal lives after this get their moment in the spotlight, because the Olympics are about celebrating athletic abnormal achievements.
And even more for America, but also Brazil, because I consider America a quasi one sport, because football is now America's sports. Like, let's be honest, football has kind of took over, as the main sport, and Brazil has soccer. But in the Olympics, we spotlight the sports that we don't watch every day, like swimming, running, powerlifting, volleyball, you name it.
Right.
That's
Yesterday at lunch, handball was on TV. And that was
handball.
super entertaining to watch. I think it was like Hungary and France going against each other.
Yeah. For example, tomorrow, Brazil is going to compete in badminton, is going to compete in slalom, rowing, is going to compete in. You help me remember the names of sports.
Let's see. I'm trying to think, because I've got the schedule pulled up here as well. Fencing, right?
Fencing, gymnastics, handball, horsing, and you name it. There's a lot of sports.
Oh, you mean equestrian?
Equestrian.
Yes.
The only sport Brazil is not going to compete tomorrow is soccer, because Brazil is not going to go for a three-peat because they're out.
Right. Of course, the U.S. soccer team, they lost 3-0 the other day to France, but I mean, it's France. So you have to kind of accept that one. But
their game is tomorrow. Their game is tomorrow against New Zealand. They have to win New Zealand to get to the next round.
Yeah, and hopefully they do, because that's what's annoying. It's just annoying again to see the U.S. soccer team be dominated on a national scale, and I wonder who's coaching them. Since Greg Berhalter is not there. But we're going to see tomorrow France v Brazil at 11:15 Eastern.
Basketball, yeah. Let's go Brazil.
Yeah. Of course, Brazil has to be the ones to play France in France first.
Oh, yeah. I imagine the French are definitely going to be all tuned in this game, with Victor Wembanyama and all the excitement. He's probably going to be one of the faces of the host country, kind of, that everybody expects us to do well.
So it's interesting here. At the same time as New Zealand, U.S. is Israel versus Paraguay. And really, I want to watch Israel in some of these sports, because I just want to see how their athletes are going to handle this, because they're going to face some adversity, just because there's a lot of people who are angry at them. Which is unfair to them, but still.
And tomorrow, Brazil plays for a gold medal in mountain bike. So let's hope we get a medal. Let's see as well. Probably only that Brazil plays for a medal tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm curious if Brazilian Brazil is anyone in surfing because what's interesting about surfing is that's all the way in Tahiti, so it's on the opposite side of the world from Paris. Because obviously you can't
Surf
surf
in
in France.
France.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would think so, but I'll definitely do some research about it. Oh, also U.S. competing in grass hockey. I mean, they should
I don't
be.
know what that is.
It's hockey playing grass. You know hockey.
Yeah,
NHL, but playing grass instead of ice.
that is really interesting. Of course, you got beach volleyball. The U.S. plays tomorrow in that against Canada. Of course, U.S. Brazil, I imagine has a good shot of being finals there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because two best countries in the world at that are U.S. and Brazil.
Yeah. It's so funny how US is really good at volleyball, but it's not. They don't have a professional league or a culture like Brazil. Brazil's second sport is volleyball. People go to watch volleyball games. Pro volleyball games, men and women. So
Yeah,
it's
and
interesting.
well, some places in this country they do show up, like Nebraska loves their volleyball team,
Oh, that's
but
true. Yeah.
like Tennessee can't get people to show up. Just
There are some games. I remember 2019, there were some games that had really good attendance, but it's kind of more here and there. It's
yeah.
not a.
Um,
But overall, I'm excited about the Olympics. Finally having the Olympics with fans because in Tokyo 3 years ago there were no fans. So it's good to see the Olympics having fans in the stands, and I would hope Brazil gets more gold medals than last Olympics.
right, and I don't remember the last Olympics at all. Like the 2021 ones, and I skipped the 2022 Winter Olympics because I'll be honest, I'm not as interested in the Winter Olympics because they have the
No, me
Summer
too.
Olympics, and two, it was in China, so I didn't really want to watch them and support.
So last Olympics, U.S. got first place in gold medals and total medals, and Brazil was 12th, number 12 in gold medals and total medals.
Yeah, I imagine France is going to make a run at it just because they are the host, and typically the host country has a bump in medals just because
Yeah,
all of the
Like Japan was third in their Summer Olympics.
yeah, and Great Britain, I think when they hosted in 2012, they were near the top if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'll be curious to see what happens. I'm curious what is the TV coverage like down there because obviously NBC.
Oh, huge, huge. The main channel Global has the TV rights, and they change all their TV lineup for Olympics. Of course, their main sports, I'll say, is volleyball, basketball, and any Brazilian that has a chance of winning a gold medal. And also the Sport TV, which is Global Sports Channel, dedicated 4 channels to Olympics. So it's a huge live coverage.
Right, because here obviously you got NBC, you got the USA Network, and Scott Hansen of the NFL Red Zone. He is going to be doing a version of Red Zone just for the Olympics every single day from seven
Nice.
to five. So, but that's on Peacock. So I'm definitely going to tune into some of that. Of course, the problem is just timing because most of these sports are going to be from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. So I'm going to be working through most of this.
Me
Uh,
too.
but it just is what it is.
But it's nice because like in a random Tuesday afternoon, we have something to watch and root for, or on
Exactly.
a random Thursday morning. That's the fun of the Olympics.
Exactly, and of course, the next Olympics are coming to the U.S. with Los Angeles, and also shout out to Salt Lake City, 2034. They'll be getting the Winter Olympics back. Of course, they held it in 2002, which was a super patriotic display because that was just a few months after 9/11. So it'd be cool to get Utah back on the map with some Olympics coverage. as well. I wish we could get another one here in the South because '96 we had it in Atlanta, so maybe we can get it down here one day again.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm sad that the big moment for the South in sports was the mid '90s. The 1994 World Cup. There were some games in Texas and Georgia, I
Right.
think,
Yeah, well,
and
2026 they're going to come back to Atlanta,
yeah.
and they were talking Nashville, but I'm not sure. So
But definitely, the Olympics is time for to be patriotic about sports we don't know nothing about.
exactly. So go America, go Brazil. Let's win as many medals as we possibly can, and don't let your politics cloud you rooting for your national team.
Oh, just to another Olympics topic. What are your thoughts on the U.S. Uniforms for the Olympics? Were there any talks about?
Well, I mean, I saw what they wore in opening ceremonies, and I mean, it's whatever. Ralph Lauren, it's not my style, so I kind of know I'm not gonna like them. Um,
Because in Brazil, the huge controversy about the Olympics is not about politics; it's about the uniforms. Athletes hated it. They call it basic. Let me see if I can find any picture or anything to show it to you. I'm actually pull up an article. Probably they're gonna show some. They're gonna show some pictures of. So though I guess still loading, but those are the uniforms. I thought was basic. It kind of overshadowed the green and yellow of the Brazilian flag. I thought was very basic. Not my
yeah, I mean,
style.
it doesn't even look like they're dressed up.
Yeah, that's what everybody talk about. They didn't. It doesn't. It's like it doesn't feel like they were dressing up for a sporting event. It felt like they were dressing up for like a cocktail party or like a Hawaii party.
Like that doesn't feel Brazilian. That looks like a hippie, like you would see at any
Yeah,
random college campus. Like Brazil has a lot of character to it, and your uniform should show that.
yes, that was the debate was about. It was produced, I think, by Riachuelo. Not Riachuelo. Let me get the name, but it was like a clothing store in Brazil, a Brazilian clothing store that produced. But the president of Brazilian Olympic Confederation said it's not Paris Fashion Week, it's the Olympics. Kind of like talking back of the criticism of the uniforms.
Wow,
So
yeah,
was
it's
yeah,
crazy. But like Paul Ralph
yeah.
Lauren, I mean, he did the job he normally does with ours. But did you hold on? There's a really cool picture though of them going for the rain because it was very rainy today, and in
In Paris.
in Paris. So let me pull up this picture. I took a picture of it off of my TV because it looked so freaking cool. Like it looked awesome, and stuff like this just makes me patriotic as all get out. Let's see here.
Oh, do you want me to pull up for you?
Yes.
I'll do it. 1 second. It's loading. But yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, because you're going to see it's in there in the middle of the rain. It's LeBron James holding the American flag, and you can see it's just pouring down rain, and it just looks amazing. It looks absolutely incredible here. It's going to be pull up here in just a sec.
Oh, is it low for you?
No, I don't see it on your end. On my
No,
end.
no, it's not. It's still loading on my end.
Yeah. But anyway, this looked awesome, and a lot of people were complaining about the fact the opening ceremony wasn't in an actual stadium. But it's unique. And you got to see so
I,
much of the city doing this, because they basically showed
I
off
mean, what
all the
Paris
band members.
probably what the Paris Olympic Committee want to do is to show off the river and the heart of Paris, not confined into a stadium.
Oh, absolutely, because they show out the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, the 37 bridges. of Paris, where all of this history, those buildings with hundreds and hundreds of years of history. Like there are some of the shots I'm like, wow, I've seen that in Ratatouille or Amelie or La Vie Adele or whatever French movie you can think of. Yeah. And speaking of Ratatouille, actually, I've been cooking Ratatouille all evening, so that's I've been very much in a French mood.
Oh yeah, but this picture now we can see it really was a cool angle of parading the American flag through the rain and showing the American spirit.
And what's ironic, it reminds me a bit of George Washington crossing the Delaware, which, in a cool roundabout fact, the French helped us do that. And we're doing that in France. So, I mean, because the U.S. wouldn't exist without France. Because France
Yeah.
had to help us beat the UK in the Revolutionary War. So, France, I mean, as Americans, I'm happy these games are in France because that's a country I can always root for, and I'll always be happy it exists because without them, we don't exist. So, lots of respect.
But yeah, we're definitely gonna keep update of the Olympics here on Two Countries from America's All Sports, especially if our countries win gold medals.
Absolutely. Let's get into some American stuff real quick. Of course, SEC Media Days were last week. Actually, before even that, I don't know if we even got a chance to talk about this. Shout out to Indy 11. It's been like over 2 weeks now. But beating Atlanta United.
What a game!
Yeah. Of course, Jason Wyrick, for him, that was just such an emotional night. And just being there with all of the Brickyard Battalion was pretty awesome. And obviously, I could never feel what they feel that night about that club. But it was cool as they're getting all to go to KC to see them play Sporting Kansas City in a few weeks for the Open Cup. And I really hope.
Yeah, It's gonna be in 1 month on August 27th.
Absolutely. So shout out to Indy 11, and congratulations to them. All right, but SEC Media Days, those were last week in Dallas. And it's what you think it is. It's just a lot of coach speak. Josh Heupel didn't really say anything too crazy at that. He really got a lot of questions about Oklahoma, which was really kind of weird because it's just like, he's not the coach at Oklahoma anymore. He's not playing at Oklahoma, but you're going to ask him all the questions in the world about Oklahoma because, yeah, he played there, and yes, Tennessee goes to Oklahoma this year. So that seemed to be the game that the media seemed to be the most interested in. But you had something, Gus, that was really interesting about how in the all SEC team guides, Tennessee is referred to as UT, while Texas, the new kids on the block, are TEX, which goes to show Tennessee is the real UT. And they're the only ones that have a national championship in this year so far.
Yeah, I thought it was really good for the Southeastern Conference to keep University of Tennessee as UT, showing kind of, hey, you are our kind of old member, so you have the preferred nickname or kind of, compared to Texas. So that's why I thought it stand out the most. I think the coaches who really had to sell themselves into the SEC Media Days were Hugh Freeze and Florida head coach Billy Napier. Billy Napier and Hugh Freeze really had to sell themselves in media days.
Absolutely. And if you look at the projected order of finish, Georgia is projected to be the favorite to win the SEC title. Texas second, Alabama third, Ole Miss fourth. Tennessee is at seventh on the list, which looking at the list is probably fair. There's really no team ahead of them that that I'm mad that they're ahead of or behind. Oklahoma 8. And this is what's interesting. Texas is regarded as a favorite, while Oklahoma is regarded as mid the pack. And Oklahoma beat Texas last year in the Red River Robbery. I mean, is there really that much of a gulf between Texas and OU as they come in to the league?
I mean, there was a really excitement about definitely I imagine the Red River Showdown is going to be at night now, not at noon.
I think it's still going to be noon. I think, or at least 3:30.
Oh yeah, at least it's going to be on the kind of SEC prime time, not a lunchtime. Which
Right. Correct.
I always hated it. This noon kickoff of the Big 12.
Right.
So
Yeah, because now it's going to be just noon kickoff of the Big Ten
yes.
and the Big 12. So yeah. And speaking of crazy stuff, did you see UCLA's coach this week at Big Ten Media Days? He stumbled so bad through his media opening, like he was like talking about how like I know you probably don't know that much about UCLA, and he just started something for like 10 seconds, like UCLA is in Los Angeles, and that starts something for like an extra 15 seconds. Pull up that clip to Sean Foster because it is one of the worst press conferences, if not the worst press conference I've ever seen.
I'm opening up right now.
Like this is insane. Because the Big Ten had theirs this week. I wonder what their media poll looked like. I'm assuming Ohio State is the favorite up there.
So okay, I'm pulling up right now.
Two great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. We're a school that's won 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football wise, we're just excited. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC. We I'm just basically excited, really. That's it.
Jesus Christ. I feel bad for the PR of UCLA football. I feel bad for him.
I mean, what would you do in that situation? Have you had that happen to you where someone got up in front of cameras, just stopped, couldn't think of what to say?
At least here Rio Bronco pregame, sometimes players get a little shy or like, but normally I record the press conference on pregame. But the coaches always did fine. They always know how to talk about. But I never faced a situation like that. But I'll say this: like for a PR in such a huge sport as football in any university, like in the big conference, you have to kind of talk to your coach and see the talking points, especially on an event which is literally media day. So you have to get ready to talk and show confidence. You have to get your talking points. Sell your program, and he stumbled that really bad.
Oh yeah, it was awful, very bad. As I expected, Ohio State did this projected champion. Oregon too. So Oregon 2, Penn State 3.
Did you saw the big duck in Indy?
Yes. Yeah, that was
kind of funny.
Yeah, because when I think of the Big Ten, I think of Oregon. But Oregon though, will have a shot though at winning the Big Ten. I think Iowa actually preseason ranked number 5 in the Big Ten over USC, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. Very interesting.
Maybe their offense is fixed. I don't know, because what I saw in Orlando was not bad, not good.
Yeah, I'm about to say. Now they still have that defense though, so
yeah.
But yeah, now in college football though, perhaps the biggest talking point in recent weeks that I've seen constantly is what in the world is wrong with Kirby Smart in Georgia, and why do their players continue to get arrested? Usually it's driving related, and they've had multiple of those. I don't know if we also – I think with Oklahoma State stuff has also happened since we last talked sports. But today, Georgia, one of the wide receivers, Ra Thomas, was arrested on cruelty to children and family domestic violence. I don't know what in the world is wrong at Georgia, because it's not just one isolated incident. It's people getting arrested over and over and over again down there.
But it kind of reminds me of the mid 2000s Florida Gators that were coached by Urban Meyer. He had a lot of success during that tenure, but you remember how much in trouble those Gator players got.
Right, obviously led by a known human respecter, Aaron Hernandez. So just insane how many people are getting arrested down there in Georgia. And actually, did you hear what Kirby said last week? Where he said that basically he's like just letting the NIL collectives handle discipline. He said that
Oh my God.
well, maybe the NIL's collectives can just fine them, and maybe then they'll stop getting arrested. It's basically what he said
So
last week.
he's outsourcing. So he's basically outsourcing leadership or outsourcing accountability.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Speaking of NIL, breaking news: NIL reform and schools directly paying athletes. So the settlement of $2.7 billion is really gonna shake up college football.
Yeah, it definitely will, and it's just something new every week. It seems like when it comes to that NIL situation. Also, I think you saw the situation of Ollie Gordon, him getting drunk driving, and yeah, did you see what Mike Gundy said when he came after that? Where he came out, it was like, I have also probably drunk driving as well. I just happened not to get pulled over. Basically saying, "God, what he did wasn't that big of a deal." Um, some of these coaches not having their greatest time makes me thankful for Josh Heupel, who hasn't stuck his foot in his foot or stuck his foot in his mouth.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely.
um, yeah. So I'll be curious to see if Georgia continues to have these problems in the regular season. At some point, it's got to start affecting their performance on the field because it's just not football. It's about having a team playing together, and I don't know. Georgia has a bunch of dudes right now who are bought in to play together. They have all the talent in the world, but Florida came crumbling down overnight. And if Georgia doesn't fix stuff, they will as well. Um, Also, shout MLB draft. Shout out to Christian Moore and Blake Burke for getting drafted. Um, so obviously their ride after the national championship is continuing. Additionally, fellow VFL, former ex VFL Chase Burns got drafted by the Reds, which means he gets to play here in Chattanooga at the Lookouts. So I'm concerned on whether or not to show up with all my national championship merch and sit front row so he can be reminded every time he throws the ball what he left in Tennessee to go to Wake Forest. But in any
Yes.
case, go ahead.
Speaking of the MLB, what a week for the New York Mets. They won 7 out of their last 10 games and they swept their city rivals, New York Yankees, and they are literally on a big game tonight against your Atlanta Braves, fighting for a wild card spot. So what a turnaround by the New York Mets.
And the Braves are very injured right now. Ozzy Albies got hurt the other day. On top of we already saw from Acuna. Things are not looking good for the Atlanta Braves. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if the Braves miss the playoffs. To be completely
Yes, because
honest.
the wild card battle is insane. Like for the with almost 1-2 game behind differential, you have the Braves and Mets, but also you have Padres, Cardinals, Diamondbacks, and the Pirates, all with like 2 game difference.
Right, and all those other teams are much healthier and on much better roles right now than the Atlanta Braves are. So I don't like the position Atlanta's in. They've got to find a way to win this series if they have any chance of turning the tide against them. Because if they lose to the Mets this weekend, it's gonna. It's like a tsunami. And right now, the Braves are trying to climb a coconut tree or climb a hill, and they've got to be able to get high enough, or otherwise they're going to get swept away. And
They're 2-0 in the top of the second, so looks interesting.
yeah, not a. We'll just have to see how things play out here. Of course, Adam Duvall with the home run there early on. NFL, Tua. How about this? Tua gets a 4-year, $212 million contract, and now he's the third highest paid quarterback per year in the NFL. And I've just got to come around and say it. I don't think he deserves to be the third highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Like, not even close. I don't think he's even a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Like, what are those GMs are thinking? Of course, Tua is a really good quarterback. I'm not saying that, but third highest pay, like that's the recipe for not winning, right? You know how the more your star player gets paid, the less cap you have. So why GMs are continuing with the recipe that it's not going to work?
Right, and you have Tyreek Hill that you're going to have to pay at some point. You've got Jalen Waddle you're going to have to pay at some point. You've got a defense which, let's be real, let you down on numerous occasions. And let's be real with Tua. Is he going to be able to even play in 4 years? I mean, this is a guy who's very susceptible to injuries. We know
he is injury prone.
And we know his brain's probably injured right now, or still injured, after taking some of those hits over the past couple of years. I don't understand this one at all.
Like, that's I'll say the second contract that doesn't make sense. Like, for me, Dak Prescott is still being paid 4 years for $160 million insane. And there's talks they're going to renew his contract. I mean, I really don't understand.
I mean, the Dallas does get to the playoffs like every year, but the thing about it is they don't do anything when you get there. And I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, do you just want to be in the playoffs, or do you actually want to win a Super Bowl? And I guess, thinking among some teams, is like, well, as long as Patrick Mahomes is elite, it's probably going to be really, really hard to win a Super Bowl. But you're rolling yourself out completely from ever winning one by making moves like this. And speaking of the Cowboys, CD Lamb's holding out. And do you think that, like, maybe the Dak Prescott situation is part of that? Because CD Lamb, got to remember, he was visibly upset during that Packers wildcard game last year. And clearly him and Dak Prescott were not on the same page during that game. And you have to wonder, does CD Lamb, know that, okay, if I stay here in Dallas, I'm never winning?
Yes. He's like, am I going to waste my prime years of talent in a team that is going to keep doing the same things over and over and expecting different results? The definition of that is insanity, to keep doing the same things and expecting different results. So CeeDee Lamb is like, I want out of the Cowboys' insanity.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane that that Dallas keeps on doing this to themselves. And we're going to sit here for 4 months and act like, oh, Dallas might actually have a chance at the Super Bowl, when we all know what's going to happen when we get to January. They lose.
I mean, they're going to find a way to the playoffs. The NFC East is very, I don't say winnable, but they're going to win at least 3, if not 4 games in that division, because I think they're going to sweep the Giants, at least win one against the Commanders. So I think
the Eagles. I mean, how good are the Eagles going to be? Is the question.
Hopefully, I'll see them live on September 5. I really, 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 really hope so.
Yeah, it's just, well, it'll be interesting how that all plays out with CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys. The last thing I wanted to bring up was we're now in a 3-week break for NASCAR. They take a break for the Olympics because NBC told them to, basically, is how that works. Because NBC broadcasts NASCAR, and they broadcast the Olympics, and NBC's like, okay, NASCAR, you take a 3-week break. So we take all your announcers. But they did lead off at least with Indianapolis. Last week, they returned to the oval that the IndyCars race on. And it was an interesting race, kind of a chaotic race. Kyle Larson, who tried the Indy double earlier this year, won the race in a chaotic fashion. So congratulations to him. Now, we do have a little bit of a special for you here.
Yeah, because the much anticipated, the much waited game, I think for this decade, it's on and it's here.
Absolutely. So I went out last week and I got a PS5 so I could get College Football 25. And I'm going to kind of demonstrate, just play a game here real quick to kind of show you what we've got. Who should I play against?
So first of all, great graphics, by the way. It's very fun. It showed the spirit of college football. I really like the graphics.
Right. So we're going to go through here. You can see all the different teams that are in the game. All 100, I think it's 34 FBS teams are in this game. So you can see all of these teams.
Tennessee, Florida.
All right, we'll do Tennessee, Florida.
But yeah, I want to see their hats. That's cool.
Yeah. And also, too, what's cool, if I go to uniforms, you can see all the different uniforms. So this is...
Play with the black one. Do they have... Oh, play the black one.
Yes. And I'll just show you all the different ones because you got these with the all orange. You got the orange pants, white. All right, but we'll do the blacks. All right, I'm gonna put it on big game team, and we'll do Knights.
Oh yeah.
So I'll warn you ahead of time about a 3-second delay here from what I'm seeing on my TV. So I'll stay quiet here for the intro.
One of the biggest and most beautiful settings in all of college football. This big crowd ready to roar. They know when the Volunteers run through that tee, it's showtime. And a game like this is what makes college football great. Yeah, there's history and tradition, but right here, right now, there is tremendous intensity and bitterness on this field. You can feel it. As we'll see a squad from the SEC, the Florida Gators, taking on the 15th ranked team, the Tennessee Volunteers. For EA Sports College Football, I'm Chris Fowler, joined here in the booth by Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk, let's get to the action on the field.
All right, and I'm just going to turn it a little bit just so we can talk about the game here. So I'm actually going to go into offense first. And
did you put on the fast mode, like to the clock runs fast?
I see what you're saying.
The Volunteers offense comes on the field first today. Well, Kirk, you can just feel the emotion, the intensity of this rivalry right now.
I'll do. Let's see. We can. What I should have done is I should have just put on like 3-minute quarters. That's what I should have done.
It's okay.
Okay, here, so you can see when Nico and I get sacked. Play one. Go figure.
And the sophomores got him for a sack. Boy, how fortunate.
Yeah, but when I actually get a good player, you'll see like how the up tempo works in this game.
You don't have to bring those linebackers when you have the tradition and speed and excellence.
Here, I'm gonna outrun him
line like these Florida Gators have.
All right.
They'll bring him down right at the 30-yard line. And the Volunteers will come to the line to crank up the
but you can see like how detailed the crowd is in this game.
Oh yeah.
And how the uniforms pop out. All right, I've got Square coming across, and I throw an interception.
Oh.
Dang.
Short return tackle made at the 27. Crucial takeaway.
Sometimes that prime time game, the whole nation is watching.
But yeah, it's really the broadcasting too. It's really feel authentic.
Quarterback is feeling that
Yeah.
a little bit. I did not expect him to.
Look at the crowd there.
Especially on the open.
No, it's really the details are impressive.
Absolutely. You see all the different little, all the different defensive.
Oh, the shaking because of like defense.
Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
I'm not good at defense. I'm just gonna say that right now. I'm on a high difficulty too.
Just outstanding execution here by this
Yeah, but you can see everyone in the crowd. You can see everyone's like, "Oh no, we let up a touchdown."
Anticipation was on point.
And it gives you all like stats and stuff like 4 seconds in.
The point after is good.
See here.
Kickoff team. Let's see if they give the returner an
All right, let's see how this one goes. Go squirrel. And what we'll have to do at some point is Jason and I will play a game live on stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game though is super fun. EA did a really good job on this game.
So from the anticipation of like what everybody was excited about from the actual game, do they deliver it?
Yes, it is so fun. Now there are stuff that like needs to be updated. Like recruiting is a little confusing in here, but when it comes to Dynasty mode, I haven't tried Road to Glory yet. Online is very difficult. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that one's picked off.
Look
out, he's got some space.
Okay.
Brings the interception all the way.
Well, yeah, I think but still, it's a really cool game. And clearly I'm not on my A game right now. But we'll have to do some head-to-heads of like Jason and maybe go online at some point. But overall, they've really delivered on this game. Like all the different channels, I've been like testing with like different teams, different road environments. I did this whole season where I went all the way to the national title game and like the playoffs. I'll say this: the 12-team playoffs. Seeing it in here, I cannot wait to see it in real life because it looks freaking cool. And how it affects what games you're watching throughout the year to see how it's going to affect the standings. Like this is going to be a lot of fun, guys. So thank you, EA, for bringing back college football 25, and I'm going to work to get a bit better, especially on defense.
Oh yeah, from what I can tell, watching your streaming of the game, it showed the graphics were really well done. The environment good as well. Of course, I have to play it to see the difficulty, but overall, I think the game delivered what was promised.
Oh, for sure. So, we'll do more with that at some point because it is, and because with that PS5, it can stream directly to here, which is pretty awesome. But that's all the time that we have today for this episode of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports, the 140th. Good luck to both America and Brazil, as we will support both here on this podcast. For Gus Tomazeli, I'm Nick Hill. Have a fantastic weekend.